Welcome back, everybody, to Hoops HD. It is our continuing quadcast night, as we might be calling it. Four conferences at once. You can actually hit play on all four of these buttons here
Yeah,
and
you could
listen to them at the
watch all
same
four at
time.
once.
And uh, but
Well, that would
this,
get annoying because people would be talking over each other.
Well, here's a spoiler.
I
If
mean,
you
you
play
can't
it,
have people talking over each other. It'd be annoying.
okay, uh, let's start over here. This is our A-10 preview. Look for the American; it's up there. Mountain West, West Coast down there below us. Any other conference up there in the season preview tab. This is our A-10 preview. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood. David Griggs and John Sleek up here. David Dorman right below me. Matt Sikowski and John Teitel to his sides. Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org down at the bottom. And last year, we actually threw the Atlantic 10 off of our Monday night regular Hoops HD reports and relegated the conference down to our Wednesday night under the radar conferences because it was looking all season like a single bid league. It was a single bid league. The team that got in, VCU, got a 12 seed. They were below all the first four teams. It was an under the radar conference last year, which is a real
Yeah.
shame though because there's schools with a lot of history here. And you look at the names of the coaches in this conference also, there are some big names here that just it's hard to understand how this conference fell to where it is and why it may still be in the same or a similar spot this season. But let's start with the team that I think is the consensus pick out there to be the best team in the conference. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but Tytel, how about Dayton this season?
they have not made the NCAA tournament since 2017, which seems impossible. But every year it was.
There is an
throw an
asterisk
asterisk in there. Come on, give them the
Yeah.
asterisk.
Ouch! Shots
Go ahead.
fired early here. So, if you like coaches, I got your 2020 National Coach of the Year and Anthony Grant. If you
Yes.
like conference tournament MVPs, I got Deron Holmes II from Arizona. If you like conference Rookie of the Years, I got a point guard Javon Bennett. If you like the name Kobe, I got two for you. The backcourt is amazing: Kobe Bray and Kobe Elvis. I think they're the favorite. I don't know about the clear favorite, but they are the favorite, and foreshadowing, they will be my pick to win it all in the A10.
You had me going there for a minute. The Dayton fans are going to be loving you. Um, um,
Well, we've heard
let's
this
see here.
before.
Go ahead, Griggs, on the Dayton team. Go ahead.
Everything Tytel said is correct, and we were big on Dayton a year ago today, and we were also correct. So 22-12 isn't bad, but it certainly wasn't good. This was a team that we thought would play their way into the rankings and stay there. I actually think they started off, if I remember correctly, ranked in the top 25 and be a team that could actually contend for a protected seed, and they missed the NIT. And why was it? It's weird that you would call a 22-win season a disappointment, but it was. And I'm kind of not all in on them. I almost now have to say, well, I need to see it first before I'm ready to declare them as being as good as that.
Well, here's a big difference from last year, though. They had a couple major injuries they were dealing with. Malachi Smith and I think Kobe Elvis ended up missing a bunch of critical time. So when the Flyers had to go down to Battle of Atlantis, for example, they had 3 losses. They also lose at UNLV. They lose at Virginia Tech. So naturally, they got off to a bad start and never recovered from that because the A10 didn't give them the opportunities. However, this should be a healthier team this year, so let's also keep that in mind.
Point.
Yeah. Matt, beyond Dayton, is there a clear second place team here? And you can say no because
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple of coaches. I mean, you got Mark Schmidt at Bonaventure. I know the computers like them a lot, and then I think Ryan Odom's gonna do a really good job at VCU in time. And that, but I think this all the roster transition and loss. He brought a couple of guys from Utah State with him, but I don't think either of them are inside the bubble worthy. The A10 tournament's generally chaos, so who knows? One of them might win it that way and get the A10 a second bid. Because I do think Dayton will be inside the bubble, 9-10 seed range.
well,
But that's I think our only chance of getting a second team is basically someone knocking Dayton out of the A10 tournament.
well, Rocco, you mentioned that St. Bonaventure team with Chad Venning and a pretty good backcourt as well. Mark Schmidt, I think, has a decent team there, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the A10 is tough because there's so many teams, especially if you go off computer models that are bunched together. So you really kind of got to go with your gut. I think this is a league where coaching is going to matter even more Defense is going to matter a ton. The things we talk about in most leagues, but it really is like in the A10 this year, the difference between top 2 or 3 or falling all the way to 8th or 9th. And the fact that they have a Player of the Year candidate in Daryl Banks that's still there from those other good Bonnie's teams. They add in pieces like Charles Pride and Mika Adams Woods was a really quality player for Cincinnati. They've got really good depth. They're old. They've got the ingredients. Schmidt's got the track record. So I'm actually going to go with St. Bonaventure as my. I don't know if I'm going to pick them to win the regular season, but they're going to be my A10 tournament champion pick.
Yeah, I like that. Dorman, normally a team we don't discuss in the A10 preview shows, but this year we are. The Duquesne, 3 starters back from a
Yes.
20-win team.
The Dukes. 2 years ago in 2022, they only had 6 wins. A big increase last year. Like you said, Chad, 20 wins last year. They're going to keep on improving. I like this team. Leading the way will be Day Grant. He's a senior guard. His running mate will be Trey Clark. Between the two of them, they got some good experience, and I think they'll give them strong guard play. They also will be leaning on 2 twins, and I've heard the coaching staff say they've been really impressed with both these twins. They're really putting them all over the court in different spots, big, small, and they've really done a great job so far. Hassan and Fusune Drame. And if those names sound familiar, they were on that St. Peter's Peacock team that made that great March run a couple of years ago. So they have experience, and the coaching staff is really looking to integrate them. And hopefully they'll give them a little jump start because they're going to need it, especially in the front court. They have some interesting games out of conference. They'll get Charleston, Princeton, Nebraska, the Anteaters, and Bradley from the Missouri Valley. So they got some solid games that'll get them ready for A10 play. And I think Duquesne's a top 3 team in this conference, right along with the Bonnies and Dayton, like everyone else likes.
Stalika, Matt mentioned VCU also earlier. This was your tournament team from last year. What do you think about with Ryan Odom coming in as the head coach?
Well, it's going to feel like he said it's going to be Utah State 2.0 thanks to Max Schluga and also Sean Bairstow that are going to be coming in. You're also going to have a familiar face in Jason Nelson, who spent some time with the Richmond Spiders, and you also have a graduate transfer in Quaney, who's coming over from the Cal Gold Bears. So talk about going from the outhouse to at least middle of the road right here. But I think the big test for the Rams is going to be the ESPN Invitational, where they're going to be on the same side as Iowa State and either Boise State or Virginia Tech. So if they can get to the championship game and potentially face Florida Atlantic, that's going to help their schedule drastically right there. The one thing I don't like about the Rams, they don't have any true road games until they get into Atlantic 10 play.
Griggs, what about another Rams team off of 25 wins and 3 starters back for Fordham?
Yeah. In what was a disappointing year collectively for the A10, one of the great stories last year, not just in this conference, but I thought in all of college basketball, was Fordham. They have not only not been good, they've been horrible for decades. Ever. Yeah. And forever. And, you know, I think it started the year before with Kyle Neptune, who's now at Villanova, but for them to win 16 games 2 years ago was stupefying. For them to win 25 last year and to get the electricity and the support that came with it was really incredible to see. Now they lost not just their 2 best players, but really their 2 biggest stars. I mean, they relied on those 2 guys so much, but with, like you said, 3 starters are back. They have some good transfer players there. I don't think they're going to win 25 again, but this is not the doormat of the league anymore. They can make a postseason tournament. Maybe not the NCAA, but
Titel, St. Joe's. I've heard them picked on the top half of this conference despite a losing record last year. Does Billy Lang have this team going in the right direction?
I think he has them going laterally, so I don't know if that's not the wrong direction. The right direction. He picked a decent year to play the rest of the Big Five because I think that it's going to be a down year for Penn. not sure about Villanova yet. Kentucky will be a tough game for them. Love the backcourt. Cameron Brown, Eric Reynolds II, Lynn Greer. I like Billy as a coach. I was supposed to, and hopefully will interview one of his assistants, John Linehan, in the weeks ahead. It was scheduled and didn't come off. So I don't see them as the very top of the league, but I think it's fair to say that they could be in the upper tier.
Matt, I know you wanted to talk about a team that I actually kind of like a little bit ahead of this season, despite not a good year last year, and that's Drew Valentine's Loyola team.
Well, first of all, where I think coaching has very much been a help at Fordham here recently, I think it's a detriment now at Loyola. I think is
Really? Okay.
and that's where I think losing most of Porter Moses guys last year, you saw Loyola, they were last in the league. And while they got too much talent on the roster to finish that low again, I think it's somewhere where with really good coaching, this would be a bubble team. With I think guys, somebody's a little bit in over his head. I think more like 8th and 9th place. And let's see. Hey, is a Chicagoan who's always gone to Jesuit schools. I hope he proves me wrong. But like, I just don't have a great feeling about Drew Valentine to where like I wouldn't stun me if they're in the coaching market the next year or two.
Rocco, I want to try to sell you out a team here that we haven't discussed yet, and that's Frank Martin's Minutemen. Matt Cross there. If they get the backcourt, a young backcourt to gel together, maybe this could be a team come March to look out for.
Yeah,
No?
I'm not there,
No.
Chad.
Come on. I thought you could be with me on it.
I wish I could. I love Frank. He works his butt off, but I think he's kind of reset the roster. Besides, a couple of the older. There's 2 older players with Cohen and Cross, but how many freshmen is he bringing in? 7. So
Yeah, that's why I said March. I didn't say November.
Yeah. Maybe they should, for his sake, improve over the course of the season. But I'm actually penciling in UMass in dead last 15.
Look. All right. Well, real quickly here, Mike Cha has joined us. Mike, first of all, you joined us. We're as we're going through the A10 here. I don't know if you want to jump in here.
I won't
Mike.
steal any signals, guys. Don't worry.
You don't have to steal any signals, but are there any teams towards the bottom half that have been at least predicted towards the bottom half of the A10 that you're looking at this year as maybe a dark horse? And you can say, you feel free to say no.
No. I think the big question is, will they get an at-large team? It seems like Dayton's the heavy favorite to win the conference, but can the VCU sneak in as an at-large team?
Yeah.
Or is their best bet hopefully that Dayton stumbles in the conference tournament and someone else wins it?
We've covered that, Mike.
He wasn't here. Okay. Real quick, the remaining teams of the conference like Richmond, George Washington, Archie Miller's Rhode Island team, Travis Ford's St. Louis team,
How
Pat
are these
McKillop's
teams
Davidson
so
team,
terrible?
Fran
Jeez.
Dunphy's LaSalle team. This is what I was talking about the coaches in this conference. But Tony Skin taking over at George Mason. I'll open the floor up here again, like I did the last conference, for a few seconds. Does anybody have any hot takes on any of those teams?
I just hope Tony Skin isn't teaching guys to go south of the border like he did during that one game before the
Okay,
06
okay.
I watched their
Uh,
exhibition game. They might want to try that. I mean, it's worth a shot.
Yeah, Chad. I would say
Go ahead, Rocco.
two teams to throw out there that I'm one for sure that I have some good faith in. They have great program momentum after their run last year, and I think even though they lose Quisenberry and Moore, the Fordham Rams can compete again. They still have an older team. Ergo's got it rolling. He really likes this team. So again, that's one of those teams you probably see him picked in the middle of the pack that can climb all the way up to the top again like last year.
I think they can.
And then I think Davidson, first year for Matt McKillop last year, but McKillop now he's been through 1 year as a head coach. That should help him a lot this year. The starting 5 is still pretty solid. He's going to break in some freshmen like his dad used to, and I think I'm seeing them pick like 11th and 12th, and I just think what that program stands for and the system that they run, they're going to get better at it, and that year probably helped them a lot. So I think they're a team that could creep up above some of these other teams that might choke.
One other new thing for the conference, just throw out there, George Washington, a new name. They're now the Revolutionaries, whether you like it or not. But
it's kind of interesting, actually.
okay. On that note,
What is it about Washington D.C. and name changes? Redskins, the Commanders, and
let's go through. I want to do is run through each of you as we do at the end of each of these shows. The three questions: who's going to win the conference? How many bids? It's probably going to be one for all you. You might want, some of you want to go with more than one. And any other final thoughts on the league? And Matt, let me start with you.
Well, I think Dayton wins the league comfortably, and because of that, there's gonna be two bids because Dayton gets upset in the conference tournament. They're the only one inside the bubble, but I think just A10 madness. There's generally wild events, especially this where like I said, the A10 knows how to maximize their bids, and I think they do it again this year. Like someone like a VCU or Bonaventure gets that second bid, they upset Dayton in the semis, win the final. There you go. There's your two bids. And that I think the one quick final thought, man, for Dayton, like they've had some hard luck as a program because like they were a legitimate national title contender in the COVID year, and now I think more importantly, the personal life, the loss of Anthony Grant's daughter, and the reason why they played that exhibition game against Ohio State. So like, if there's a program and a coach that deserves good things for them, and I know there's a Marquette person saying that, so I might get kicked off all the Marquette forums, but man, Dayton and Anthony Grant deserve some good breaks this year.
They do. Dorman.
I'm going with two. I'm saying I have Dayton in between VCU, St. Bonnie, Duquesne, St. Joe's, and Fordham. I'm saying one more gets in. I like the talent. We talked about the coaching in the conference. I don't think the talent between those 5 or 6 teams I just named and Dayton is that big of a difference. I really don't. I don't think Dayton rolls this conference, and I think someone else will make a move and be up there near the top of them. So I'm going with 2 bids for this conference. I'm going to take a shot on the Bonnies to win it and Dayton to get an at-large.
All right. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, I just checked. Dayton hasn't won the conference tournament in 21 years, 2003. And I echo Matt. I felt bad for them in 2020 because it's like that's like maybe a once in a lifetime chance to be a number 1 seed, and you don't think that you probably think that's not going to happen again. That was the Obi Toppin year. They did make the finals last year, but I think Dayton wins the regular season with ease. But I think it's going to be either VCU or St. Bonaventure that's going to sneak in and get the automatic bid, relegating Dayton to an at-large team.
All right. Titel.
1 bid league, Dayton the pick, although Rocco makes a good point. I've been to this conference tourney in DC once or twice, and it is often not the favorite who wins it all. So I guess I wouldn't be totally surprised if that happens. As far as a final thought, so there's a new coach we mentioned at VCU named Ryan Odom. And if you look at VCU's schedule this year, one in-state team you don't see on it is the University of Virginia. And I wish Joby was here for this. But it's been a minute, despite the fact that these are 2 teams who are often in the tournament and often nationally relevant. They have not played in 5 years since VCU went into John Paul Jones Arena in December 2018, led by 5 points with 7 minutes left in the game, but ended up losing by 8, thanks to a comeback led by such future NBA guys like Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter, etc. I hope they get this rivalry back, but if not, I understand because, as you might imagine, I'm sure one of the last people Tony Bennett wants to see on the opposite sideline is Ryan Odom, who was at UMBC a couple of years ago. But if I can point you back to that game 5 years ago, Virginia barely beat VCU in 2018. Can somebody remind me how they did in the 2019 NCAA tournament that year?
Not bad. Brocco.
Yeah, it's to me, I think it's out of all 32 leagues, the toughest league to pick. And I think you look at Dayton since that 2020 magical run that Michael referenced, they've been picked to win this league every year preseason, and they haven't won it since. So every year they've fallen short of expectations under Coach Grant. Hopefully under Matt's story, that could be something that inspires them deeper. But I do think, this team tends to not show up on certain nights. Like last year, they lost at George Washington. They lost at Rhode Island. They lost at SLU. There's going to be some games that you won't be able to see on paper that Dayton typically will fall. And obviously an amazing home team. So I have no idea who to pick in the regular season. I really think St. Bonaventure's got the best mix of roster, coach, and good enough defense. But I also think Fordham's got the defense. And, if this tournament was in Brooklyn again, I might actually take Fordham. But with it going to DC, I don't think they'll have the same kind of support they had last year. I also think Duquesne has a very good chance to win this tournament as well. But I am going to say across the board, unfortunately, it's just a one bid league.
One bid league. Okay. Stalika.
As a member of Xavier Nation, we always love to joke about Dayton and their preseason banners right here. If you look at the if you look at the two conference championships they've won in 1990 and 2003, the common thread among that is it's always been at UD Arena. That is not where the tournament is going to be located this year, so I will not be picking the Flyers to at least win the conference tournament. I still think they win the regular season, but I think St. Bonaventure has the pieces where they're probably going to be the team that ends up getting the automatic bid this year.
I'd like Dayton to win this conference regular season also, and I'd like them to be inside the bubble. I'm talking 10 line-ish, not high inside the bubble, and I do also agree with all of you that they do not win the conference tournament, which makes us a two-bid league. And I wouldn't be shocked if we see something crazy like a Richmond that nobody even is discussing coming out and win the conference tournament come March. But the Bonnies do look like the second best team to me on paper. Griggs.
I'll do the last part first. And my final thought: I have always had a lot of appreciation for this league. I, for years, didn't think it was getting as much respect as it deserved, and it's kind of been disappointing for me as a fan of the sport to not see it be better, especially where it was last year. You know, how much fun was Havoc? Dayton, if you know that program and their fans, it's one of the most rabid fan bases in the country, not non-power fan bases, just fan bases, period. Part of the Big Five is here. SLU's got a unique program. St. Bonaventure, a real unique fan base. I mean, these are schools with, you know, passionate, strong alumni bases with resources. Why isn't this league better? Why isn't it more appreciated? Other than the Big East, I mean, it really should be the best basketball-centric league out there. With that, I'm going to pick someone that's going to sound crazy. I alluded to it in my preseason write-up when I recap Media Day. I really like what Keith Dambrot has done at Duquesne. They went from 6 wins to 22. They are a little light when it comes to their depth, but when you look at everybody else, it's easy to kind of find holes or just a history of not living up to expectations. This is a program that is blowing their expectations away. I think, I don't know if they're inside the bubble, but I think they're at the top of the standings. I'm going with Duquesne to finish first.
All right. Well, on that note, that does conclude our A10 preview. Again, if you look for the American, it's up there. Mountain West or the West Coast, Griggs, they're down there somewhere.
Hey, there's
but
some out west.
on behalf of David Griggs, John Slika, David Dorman, Matt Sikowski, John Titel, Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org, Michael Cha, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. And you can now click stop on this one and start on the Mountain West. We'll see you there in a few minutes.